The following program contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800 presents Passion with sex therapist Dr. Laurie Betito. To reach Dr. Laurie, call 514-790-0991. Star Talk, a free call on Bell Mobility. And 800-491-CJAD. Now, here's Dr. Laurie.
Welcome to Passion, a show about love, sex, and relationships. Tonight, our regular monthly feature that we call Dating Dilemmas. Yes, once a month I'm joined by Frank Kermit, one-time seduction, and dating coach, relationship coach of franktalks.com. He's the author of several books on the subject of dating, and one book and a DVD series on the topic we are talking about tonight, and that is on jerks. Men who love women who love jerks. In fact, he wrote a book, How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk, and also a CD set, How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. 514-790-0991. All our callers will go into a draw for one of these two prizes. You can text us your message as well at 514-800. If you're calling long distance, 1-800-491-CJAD. We want to hear from you. Are you a jerk or a nice guy? And how can you get the girl and not be the jerk? Have you found men that women want jerks? And maybe we're being unfair to women as well. We should hear from the women. Do what does it mean for a guy to be nice? Because I think a lot of men have a distorted notion of what it is to be a nice guy. And so we need to find out what that's all about. So you tell me, why do you think women tend to be attracted to the jerks? Frank, welcome back to the program.
Dr. Laurie, great to be here.
It's great to have you on once again. So you wrote a book, How to Steal Her Away from the Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Is this one of your own experiences too?
Very much so. When you're madly in love with somebody who keeps dating guys that are not good for her, what are you going to go through? How do you understand why they keep going back to the jerk? And when they finally break up with the jerk, and you say, great, now's my chance, they go out with another jerk.
Oh, great.
And just trying to understand the psychology behind it.
So your writing this book was really to try to understand what the heck was going on. Because I hear this question from a lot of guys, too. It's like, I don't get it. I'm a nice guy. She says she wants to be with a nice guy. I'm a nice guy, so what the hell is wrong with me? Like, what's going on here?
Here's what's going on. What she means in terms of a nice guy for what she wants to date is a different definition of nice guy than when she calls you a nice guy.
Okay.
When she's calling her male friends a nice guy, she's basically saying, I feel like your mother too much.
Okay.
You're too nice for me to date. You address some of my emotional needs, which is why I want to keep you around, but not enough of my emotional needs for me to think of you as my lover.
So not enough so that there's an attraction quality there.
Exactly.
Let's hear from Hal. Hi, Hal. Welcome to the program.
Hi there. Hi, Laurie. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
So, having just tuned into the show, I hear the topic, jerks, and I'm a little bit familiar with the whole personality and psychopathology literature, and there's nothing in the sort of the professional or academic vernacular referring to the term jerk.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to find it in the psych books.
Exactly. So I'm wondering if it's sort of a colloquial term, and we all sort of have a rough, vague idea of what it refers to. It's kind of it's maybe a cluster of undesirable traits that some guys can have. So I'm wondering if A, you can give maybe a sort of a concrete definition on it.
Yeah, that would be good.
And B, whether, because there's these other terms that you hear as well, like player,
narcissist,
bad boy, and these are other terms that, narcissist is one.
Although the narcissist would be in the literature.
Yeah, narcissist. I was thinking maybe the equivalents in the literature might be things like antisocial personality, maybe some sociopathy, maybe low conscientiousness, and all that.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you can basically give me a rough definition of what a jerk is, as you see it, and how it's similar or different from these other colloquial terms of maybe player or bad boy,
right.
Which are sort of character types that society frowns down upon this as, women shouldn't be attracted to these guys. These guys shouldn't be getting the girls. Yet very often they do.
Right, and even I remember reading studies on that showing clearly that the bad boys or the jerks, so to speak, I think the bad boys and jerks might be interchangeable, but that they end up more successful in terms of sleeping with women, but in the long run, they're the ones who stay the loneliest because they don't develop relationships. They sleep with a lot of women, but they don't necessarily end up with a long-term relationship. The nice guy would. So that's interesting. So, all right, we'll get Frank to answer that question. Thanks so much for calling, Hal. Appreciate it. Frank, that's a big question. How do we define what the jerk is, or the bad boy, or the player? Are they all interchangeable?
No, they're not interchangeable, actually. When most people talk about jerks, they're talking about people who are, at some level, are abusive. Whether we're talking about physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, the name-calling, the attacks on someone's character, the constant belittling, looking to damage a person's self-esteem.
So you're talking about an a-hole.
Exactly.
Basically. Okay.
When I, having been a former player myself, a player is a person who tries to spin the truth to his advantage.
Okay.
So I would always look at a player and wonder, okay, is he an honest player or is he just a liar? So that's what I would call a player. A bad boy, in my own definition for the bad boys that I've met, that's somebody who pretty much follows their own rules. They do their own thing. They're not necessarily abusive, but they can come across with a lot of chutzpah.
That's like the Fonz. Fonzie.
Fonzie could be.
Okay, I'm dating myself. I don't know. You're probably even too young
I remember
for
Fonzie.
that, no?
Actually, he was one of my heroes. I remember growing up wanting to be exactly like Fonzie.
He got the girls.
Well,
and he was nice to them.
He was nice. The thing I loved about Fonzie, he had pictures of his girls above his bed.
Right.
And they all knew about it, and that's what I wanted. And lo and behold, during that period of my life where I lived on my own, it was quite entertaining. I had pictures of all my girls who had posed for me in a certain corner of my apartment.
Oh, that's cheesy, Frank.
Hey, it worked.
That's cheesy.
It worked. You'd be amazed when women walk in and they see pictures of other women posing semi-nude.
They want it to be on that wall.
Exactly.
Right.
Only one woman ever ran out of the place.
There was a Sex and the City episode like that, except it was more about, it was Samantha, and she wanted to be on this guy's wall, but his wall was all porn movies that he like home videos of him having sex.
Oh, wow.
She wanted to make sure she was one of them. So that's going a little far, but we're not suggesting that. All right, so let's get back to, so when we're talking tonight, we're talking about women who love really like asses, like guys who are just not nice men, who are mean to them, who are abusive, so that's really the true sense of the word jerk, more like you're being a real ass.
Exactly.
Jerk.
An abuser.
Right.
An abuser. Why would some women want to date an abuser? Now, there's two reasons. The first reason is, on some level, she is emotionally damaged. She is getting an emotional need fulfilled that, unfortunately, is dysfunctional. And right or wrong, that's why she stays with him. So when a nice guy approaches her and says, you should be dating me, even if he offers her an emotionally healthy relationship, it takes two people to make a relationship.
Right.
And if she's not capable of emotionally healthy relationships, that relationship with the nice guy is not going to work. The second reason is he might actually address some of the emotional needs of a healthy woman. Unfortunately, though, when the emotional behaviors, the abusive behaviors come into play, that's when we find out whether or not she's really damaged or if she's a high-quality woman. If she's a high-quality woman, she wouldn't tolerate abusive behaviors.
We have to be careful about putting labels like high quality necessarily on a woman, because somebody who is damaged or has baggage or some dysfunctional in the past, I have a hard time saying that they're not high quality, but that there's something that keeps them in the victim, in that whole victim role, probably because they were victimized when they were younger. So they might be quality women who don't know how to get out of those situations, right? Because I don't know your definition of how you say that.
Fair enough. Would you say, though, that they're not making quality decisions?
They're not making healthy decisions. Right. Absolutely. They're not making healthy decisions. But we also have to understand those jerks who turn out to be abusive often are not at the beginning of a relationship. So they can seduce, right?
That's the filter that the jerk will set up.
Okay, so we can talk about that coming up. The filter, how the jerks get in there in the first place, because I think inherently women are not attracted to jerks. Nobody would be. Nobody wants to be with an abuser. So there's got to be a way that they somehow get to that point, and then we'll find out. Frank Kermit is my guest at franktalks.com. He's got a book, How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk, and of course we have the book and a CD set to give away. So when you call in, just make sure to give Mike your coordinates and we'll put you into a draw. We'll take more of your calls after this.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the program How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. Why do women love jerks? What is it about jerks that addresses a woman's emotional needs? How does a good guy steal a woman away from a jerk? How can he convince her not to go back to the jerk? Why do men always fall for women who are stuck in relationships with jerks? What is the difference between a high-quality woman worth stealing and a low-quality woman that is not worth stealing? What is the single greatest mistake that good guys make when they try to steal a woman away from a jerk? What is the secret seduction technique skill that jerks use to get women hooked on them to begin with? And how can a good guy battle this for the good guy's advantage? This program has all of these answers and more. How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. On sale now at franktalks.com.
This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's news talk leader, CJAD 800.
Tonight on Passion, it's our regular feature, Dating Dilemmas, and with me, as usual, is Frank Kermit. He is a seduction, dating coach, relationship coach of franktalks.com. He's the author of many books, one of which is How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk. We're talking about women who tend to be attracted to jerks. What are jerks? Are we talking about the same thing as players? No. We're talking about the guy who really is an ass. We're not talking about the bad boy, the figurative, the player, that guy, the big seducer. We're really talking about the guy who doesn't treat women right or doesn't treat anybody right. And we know a lot of couples like this. We know a lot of women who date men like this. Of course, there's a whole understanding with, you need to understand a little bit about the abuse cycle and what have you. But right now, we're really focusing on the whole attraction to and why some women may be led down that path. 514-790-0991. Joseph joins us. Hi, Joseph.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
I'm going to put my jerk hat on.
Go.
Yeah.
Although I know you're not a jerk, Joseph. Come on.
Okay. Well, listen, it all depends because, I have to split person. I can be a jerk. I can be an ass. I can be an SOB. I can be all kinds of things. Why? Because this is in our personality. Now we say, why are women attracted this way? Could it be that they're bees and other words that as men we use to label them? Because they say that we are attracted to the mirror image of ourselves as a whole. So therefore, I know a lot of women that are very biatch and very arrogant, and let's not forget all the ones that I'm dating now. For some reason, they developed the Cinderella syndrome, that I'm the guy that has to pay for all the mistakes that they made in the past.
Oh, Mr. Cynical Joseph.
Well, I'm trying to just get to the facts. You see, I like to be open to certain things, and I always keep, maybe this happened. But why do we always blame the man? Women have a role to play in this also.
Sure.
And we have to start remembering that it takes two to tango.
Yes, but the women,
50-50 split.
but this is what we're trying to understand. What is the woman's, yes, of course she's responsible for making these choices. That's why we're trying to figure out what is the attraction. What do jerks have that women may be attracted to? How do they lure or seduce the women into being in relationships with them? And we can at the same time, we can talk about the bad boy too, or the look of what is it about the guy that appears to be a jerk, but really isn't on the inside, but just that appearance gives him something that is appealing. Obviously, there's not one woman on this earth that's going to tell you, yeah, sure, I want to be with a jerk. Nobody wants to be with a jerk. That's just obvious. So we're trying to just figure out here how this happens. Thanks so much for your call, Joseph. Appreciate it. What do you think? I mean, how do women get seduced into this?
Well, it all starts by the filter that the jerk puts in place over those first few dates. This is very critical. This is where he gets the girl hooked on him. This is where he finds out what's really important to her. Does she really want the little girl in her catered to in a massive amount? Is she really afraid of abandonment? And so he's going to hold back and be very careful until the right moment where he'll threaten to leave. The biggest thing that a jerk will do to undermine a girl's self-esteem is he's going to make her feel that everything wrong in the relationship is because of her.
Right.
So he might start off on a first date, and this is a story a jerk might tell. I'm the type of guy that I would rarely ever get violent with somebody, but if I ever do, you gotta know that I believe that person totally wronged me.
Or deserved it.
It. So this way, he's setting it up so that the day comes when he becomes violent with her, he can say things like, she deserved it. Look what you made me do. Yeah. It's your fault that you brought this out of me, etc., etc.
Right.
So this way, the way he has structured the initial contacts where he's been very giving, very loving, he finds out what her fantasies are. And he looks to fill in those fantasies. So whatever you have as that fantasy man in your head, he wants to put his picture in that spot.
So whatever your needs are, he wants to make you feel like he can fulfill all of your needs.
Exactly. Whether or not he's actually doing it.
Right.
He wants you to figure, well, if I've always wanted a man who could give me this, he's going to position himself and present himself as the type of guy who could fulfill those fantasy dreams of yours. So he becomes this image. Now, what happens when you have a really good image of somebody and that person does a bad thing? Do you say that, oh, that person's a bad person? Or do you say, because I like the person and I have this image of them, anything they do bad is just filtered through, oh, he's a good person who did a bad thing?
Right, that's true.
And that's the filter of the jerk. That's the secret tactic that jerks use. They get the people around them. There's a great book by Susan Forward called Emotional Blackmailer. And this is how emotional blackmailers tend to seduce, for lack of a better term, the people that they tend to take advantage of. They create this image of themselves in that person's head so that no matter what they do, no matter how bad it is, the person will always filter it as, well, the person is only being rough with me because they love me.
Right.
The person
or I must have done something.
Exactly. They're not trying to control me. They're looking out for me, but they're doing it in an aggressive way. Right. And once you start getting into these type of rationalizations, it becomes easy to justify the abuse. Right. And this is the pattern that needs to be broken. Right. Because once you get into a pattern of accepting repeated abusive behaviors as, well, the person's only abusive because they like me, that's where you have a problem.
Right. We've got James on the line. Hi, James. Hello, James. James? Welcome to Dating Dilemmas. Oh, all right, James, you're going to have to call back. You got disconnected somehow. So you talk about, in your book, two types of women. Low-value women, high-value women. So I'm imagining it has to do with how they value themselves.
Exactly.
Okay,
and
because I think that's a better choice than, let's say, the high quality. It's more about how they value the choices they make for themselves. So women who don't value themselves, which means they have low confidence or low self-esteem,
exactly,
might take on more of, might stick it out with a jerk more than a woman who really values herself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. When you want to date a woman, and this is something I advocate, you want to date a woman who loves herself. Not to the point where she thinks she's better than everybody else, but to the point where she's going to make good choices for herself. When a woman is dating a jerk and he gets abusive that first time, that's the red flag. That's the test. Is she going to dump him or is she going to stay with him?
Right.
And if a woman continues to stay in an abusive cycle for many, many years or continues to date jerk after jerk after jerk after jerk, that's when it becomes a reflection on her. That's when you say she's not making the choices of someone who loves herself. That's the type of woman that if you get into a healthy relationship with her, she'll sabotage it. The same way that if a woman dates a man who hates himself, he's going to sabotage a good thing.
And that's when she might sabotage by saying, you're too nice.
Exactly.
She won't be able to handle what that nice feels like because she will not value herself enough to have somebody be that nice to her.
One of the saddest things I also find is that when a person is so used to being in a bad relationship and they finally get into an emotionally healthy relationship, they feel like something's wrong.
Right. How come I'm happy?
Exactly. This is odd.
I'm waiting for the other, shoe to drop. Like something's going to happen here. This is too good to be true.
Exactly. So they start thinking that there must be something wrong because it's unfamiliar. When you take a person who's regularly had bad relationship experiences and put them in a good relationship, it feels odd, even though it could be the best relationship that they've ever been in.
Right.
It feels so unfamiliar, it feels odd that they'll find reasons not even to date that person.
And that's a very psychological, process that happens too and it can stem from childhood. Like this is something that if you grew up in, let's say a very dysfunctional home or abusive home or a home where you didn't feel valued, you continue to live out that low value throughout your relationship so that anything or anybody that gives you value you feel uncomfortable with because it doesn't sit right. Even though maybe intellectually it is good for you, it feels funny. It feels out of sort, out of place. So sometimes we are comfortable in our discomfort.
Exactly. You can't always rely on a logical process to say, well, I know that logically this would be the better relationship. People will tend to seek out what's familiar to them, what feels familiar to them.
Right.
Some people are trapped in a repeating behavior pattern, as you said, that comes from childhood, that they have learned to interpret, love means being hurt.
Right.
And so they'll seek out to be hurt in order to express and feel love.
And if you recognize this in yourself, please seek counseling. You can actually learn a whole heck of a lot through a whole therapeutic process. 514-790-0991. We'll continue with Frank Kermit in our monthly feature, Dating Dilemmas, here on Passion.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the program How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. Why do women love jerks? What is it about jerks that addresses a woman's emotional needs? How does a good guy steal a woman away from a jerk? How can he convince her not to go back to the jerk? Why do men always fall for women who are stuck in relationships with jerks? What is the difference between a high-quality woman worth stealing and a low-quality woman that is not worth stealing? What is the single greatest mistake that good guys make when they try to steal a woman away from a jerk? What is the secret seduction technique skill that jerks use to get women hooked on them to begin with? And how can a good guy battle this for the good guy's advantage? This program has all of these answers and more. How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. On sale now at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
Welcome to the second half of Passion, Dating Dilemmas. Once a month, we talk about dating issues, dating dilemmas, and the one that we're talking about tonight has to do with women who tend to be attracted to jerks and how men could maybe seduce her away from the jerks. How does the nice guy win in all of this? We'd love to hear from you as well. Frank Kermit joins me. He's from franktalks.com. He's a dating coach, relationship coach, and the author of many books. In his heyday, he was a seduction coach and went through a lot of this stuff lot of personal experiences and a lot of discussion with a lot of men, and so put all of these things put all of his thoughts into writing, into books, and they are available for you at franktalks.com. We do have some to give away, so feel free to call in, and our callers will go into a draw. 514-790-0991. You can text your message at 514-800. If you're calling long distance, 1-800-491-CJAD, star talk, star 8255 if you're calling from your Bell Mobility cell phone. So what do you think? Why do women tend to be attracted to jerks? And have you found that women want the jerks, or maybe not so much the jerk, but maybe the bad boy, or the look of the bad boy, or that's what she's attracted to, or you found that you have tried to be nice, you don't know what they mean when they say you're being too nice, and you just like to figure that out. If you want to figure that out, tonight's the night. So feel free to call in and ask some questions at 514-790-0991. So you wrote a book, Frank, about how to seduce her away. In other words, what? You're in love with the woman who's in love with, or thinks she's in love with, a guy who's a real jerk to her, and you want the girl. What do you do? Exactly.
This was written for a base of my clientele, and the fact is, the majority of the guys who come to me, they're not looking just to get sex one time or have a bunch of one-night stands. The majority of them come to me saying, I want a girlfriend that will eventually become my wife. Okay. And in most cases, they already have a particular girl in mind that they want to
help me get her, Frank.
Exactly. Right. So here are some tactics that if you're a nice guy and you want to seduce her away from a jerk, here's a few tactics. Okay. Rule number 1, never be her therapist. When she starts complaining about the guys that she's dating, that is not a time to say, tell me more. I will listen to you. Right. I'll be here for you. That's when you turn to the girl, put your hand up, and literally say, stop. I'm not your therapist. When you're with me, we have fun. Everybody out there who's listening right now, get that hand up. Follow me. Follow along. Stop. I'm not your therapist. When you're with me, we have fun. And immediately go and do something fun. Take her out for an ice cream cone. Right. Anything. Anything. Right. Because once she starts telling you all of her problems, here's what happens. She starts associating a lot of those negative feelings with you. And then she's got it out of her system. Now she's feeling better. Who does she go back to? The jerk. And there you lose again. And you lose again. Now, here's another tactic that you can do, and we'll skip down to the logical approach. Let's say you're talking to a girl, she's the type that has dated a few jerks, and you really want to present yourself as the better option. I'm a nice guy, you should be dating me. I don't recommend this approach because it only works with women who have gone through some sort of cathartic process. If she's hit a rock bottom and she realizes that the choices that she's made up until now were the wrong choices for her. Now, if she's in that mind frame, if she's hit that rock bottom and is ready to change, that's when a logical approach will do it. Maybe she's a little older, maybe she's looking to settle down, maybe she realizes that the way she's lived her life has to stop. But can I add something to that? That my experience with that I've seen is that it's like the pendulum. So they've gone from one end and now they say, okay, no more. And they go straight to the very, very, very nice guy. And then it's the change is too much for them. And it comes to a point where they get restless with that. Even though the guy does everything for her, he's there for her, he gives her everything she needs, there's something that doesn't sit right with her, and not that he's doing anything wrong, but the pendulum has swung too far to the other side. It's so unfamiliar to her, and she starts to resent him, and she starts to resent the relationship she's in. And she feels suffocated. Somehow he's too nice now. Exactly. Now here's something else, and this is for nice guys all over the world. Be willing to be so honest with a woman that it would make her angry. Explain. Okay. There's so many guys who are afraid to be completely honest about how they feel and how they think that they will censor themselves and try to present it in a nice way because they don't want to upset the girl. This violates a woman's ability to trust him. Now, that's the one thing that when you're dealing with a really harsh jerk, a jerk is going to tell you exactly what he's thinking and he doesn't care if he hurts you. Right, that's true. But it's easier to trust a jerk because you know that no matter what's going on, you know exactly what he's thinking at that time. Right. The only time a jerk really lies is when he's dating other women behind your back. But for some women, it's a turn on to know that their guy is very attractive to other women. Right. For the nice guy, however, he's going to say things like, oh, no, honey, I don't mind when you do that, even though she picks up on the passive-aggressive attitudes that he might be, that vibe that he's giving off. A nice guy has to be so honest with women that if she says, do you find that other woman pretty over there? If I wasn't around, would you approach her and want to have sex? Be honest. And say, honey, if you were agreeable to an open relationship, I'd be having sex with her right now.
Right.
And then you.
Right.
If you can be honest with a woman to the point where you know it's going to upset her, but it's important for you to be honest at all times, that's the one thing that nice guys are missing.
Interesting. Interesting. What else do they lie? Well, what else are they not honest about, nice guys?
Nice guys are not honest about the way they feel when something's bugging them, what they really like and don't like about the girl. Yes, honey, that dress looks flattering on you. It doesn't make you look fat at all.
When in fact they're thinking in themselves, ugh.
Yeah, like that, don't wear that dress. Right. They don't want, they do it for a good intention. They want to spare the girl hurt feelings.
That's true.
But that's exactly what women do when they say, I like you, but as a friend. She's saying that to spare your feelings because you've demonstrated that you can't handle hurting other people's feelings.
Interesting. And that's a very common niceism that the nice guys will do, and what that turns women off is that they won't be very honest about what they think for fear, and the woman picks up on that for fear that the feelings will be hurt or their feelings will be hurt.
Now that does two things. First, it stops a woman from fully trusting a man. So sometimes a woman will date a guy who's a bit more of a jerk than the nice guy because at the very least she knows that she can trust him. She knows that he's going to be, if he's overly dominant, that's not a good thing. But when the choice is, do I date a guy who's overly dominant or a guy who's so undominant that I feel like his mother? She's going to turn to the guy who's overly dominant. Not because he's a much better man, but it's the lesser of two evils, because no woman is going to feel attraction for a guy that she feels like she has to mother.
Right.
That's one of the things I teach all men. On every first date, you have to say it at some point. Stop mothering me. Whatever she suggests, when she said, I went once out for a coffee, and I came back to the car, and she says, oh, you forgot the straw. I said, no, it's in my pocket. Stop mothering me.
I've heard that from my own husband. Stop. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, not some boyfriend, but your husband, the one you ended up marrying.
Guilty as charged. Yeah, I'm just the nag. What can I say?
It's not you being a nag. It's your mothering instinct taking place.
I want to take care of him. I want to make sure he takes his medication. I want him around a long time.
And that's a good thing. And if he simply said, okay, dear, thank you very much, at some point you're going to start feeling like his mother and you're going to start resenting him.
Actually, he does exactly what you said. I'm not my mother. You're not my mother. I have a mother.
And what does that do? That halts your mothering instinct towards him.
It totally does.
And it makes you angry, gives you emotional range, and then afterwards you're kind of turned on.
Well, afterwards, at least it's not like, you're right that it does a different thing. It's like, okay, I'm backing off. You've just dominated yourself. Like you've taken care of yourself. It's not that the other one saying, yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear.
And at that point,
doesn't work.
You're now going to mother your kids. You're going to maybe mother your friends. You won't mother your husband, and that's why you're still attracted to your husband.
Right. Instead, I'll just say, fine, go, drop dead. That's what you want.
Exactly.
Don't take care of yourself.
Exactly. And you got this emotional range going on.
Just up the, insurance premiums.
And a nice guy wouldn't do that, though. A nice guy would think, oh, I don't want to make her upset. I don't want to make her angry. That's exactly what you need to do. Even though in the moment, you were angry. But it's a fun kind of anger, because it brings up a bunch of other emotions, and that's what keeps the spark alive.
Yep.
This is something that the jerks do too much, and the nice guys don't do enough.
Right.
Here's what a nice guy has to offer that a jerk will never be able to match. If a nice guy can learn to be more masculine, can be dominant in these type of examples that we've given, he's able to address her emotional needs without violence.
Right.
And that is what a nice guy, that's what the best of nice guys truly offer. When a girl says, I wish I could meet a nice guy, what she means is, I wish I could meet a guy that addresses my emotional needs without the violence.
Right. So who can be manly, dominant, masculine, but not in a jerky, domineering. I mean, because you can be dominant but not domineering.
Exactly.
Or controlling or abusive or anything like that. It's finding that middle ground. And so nice guys can actually do that. It's when they It's when the nice guys, when the guys that say, yes, yes, whatever you want, whatever you want, whatever you want, whatever you want, because all they want to do is please and not hurt feelings and, you know, and I'm so easygoing. It's not like they're so easygoing. They just don't have opinions. And when you don't bother to give an opinion because you figure, well, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want is fine, dear, as long as you're happy. Where's where's the feeling of, hey, I count too here?
Exactly. How can a woman ever rely on a guy who's not willing to step up and lead? It's one thing to say, honey, let's do what you want to do tonight. So what are some of the choices that you would like to do? That's different from some guy saying, I'll do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do is okay with me. You make all the choices. You can be the mommy.
Right.
No woman feels special when a guy says, oh, you decide everything. So a woman starts to feel special when he starts putting thought into, I know what it is she likes, or I have an idea. I'll take her to these places. We'll structure our life this way. We'll structure an outing for something that I know that she has a bit of an interest in. Because a woman recognizes the thought process that goes behind making those choices. That's where she feels special. That's where she feels, this guy won't abandon me because he's putting effort into it.
And I guess that's what you mean by the dominant, you know, being dominant or masculine is taking a lead, not always following and taking her lead in that just about absolutely everything, even though your intentions are good. Like, I don't want to, you know, bash those nice guys who are so amenable. You know, usually they describe themselves as just very laid back. I'm so laid back. I'm okay with whatever you want. It's fine. I'm totally laid back, you know, but it's not enough to be laid back.
It's not enough. It's great to be a relaxed personality, but you need to be assertive. And if I could rewrite my works from years ago, I wouldn't have used the word dominance. I would have used the word assertive.
Actually, that's true. Let's go back to that then. Let's change that. Let's use assertive. It's true. Assertiveness is a very good quality. It's also a very attractive quality.
When I first used the word dominance, it was because I was trying to throttle some of these nice guys, having been a nice guy myself many years ago.
You're still a nice guy.
Don't hey!
But an assertive guy. Assertive nice guy.
Oh, you have wounded me. You have so
I didn't insult you.
Yes, you did. You stuck the knife in and you were twisting it and twisting it again.
You're a nice assertive guy. How's that? No. You're the kind of nice guy that all guys should be. Just a nice, assertive guy. That's okay, no?
No, just call me an assertive guy. Leave out the nice. There's too many negative connotations with being called nice. It's terrible
when there's bad things associated with being nice.
And unfortunately, there's always going to be that stigma just because being nice is associated with being less than what you can.
Being a patsy, unfortunately. And that's too bad. It's taken the good stuff out of nice, you know.
Exactly.
You're listening to Dating Dilemmas once a month. Frank Kermit joins me. He's a seduction and dating coach, relationship coach at franktalks.com. Wrote the book, How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk. If you have some thoughts and want to win a book, you can. 514-790-0991. You're listening to Passion on CJAD 800.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the program, How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. Why do women love jerks? What is it about jerks that addresses a woman's emotional needs? How does a good guy steal a woman away from a jerk? How can he convince her not to go back to the jerk? Why do men always fall for women who are stuck in relationships with jerks? What is the difference between a high-quality woman worth stealing and a low-quality woman that is not worth stealing? What is the single greatest mistake that good guys make when they try to steal a woman away from a jerk? What is the secret seduction technique skill that jerks use to get women hooked on them to begin with? And how can a good guy battle this for the good guy's advantage? This program has all of these answers and more. How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. On sale now at franktalks.com.
You're a jerk. This is Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito on Montreal's News Talk Leader, CJAD 800.
You're a jerk. 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 You're a jerk.
All right. Wow, you got the right song there for us. That's what we're talking about. Women who tend to be attracted to jerks. Frank Kermit joins me for our Dating Dilemma segment every month. How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk is a book that he wrote as well. And it's yours for the asking if you give us a call. 514-790-0991. Raina joins us. Hi, Raina.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fine.
Good.
Oh, my goodness. So you hit the hammer on the nail.
Oh, yeah? Tell us.
Yeah, well, like, I've decided, well, not that I went out with a lot of bad guys, but I said I want to go out with a really nice guy.
Okay.
But that's it. They don't take the initiation of anything. It's always trying to please. And I found it so annoying.
It is, isn't it? Right. They don't take any initiative, right? They just, right.
It's like, and it's always like to please, and it's true at the beginning. It is nice. It feels nice.
Right. When they bring you flowers and they wherever you want to go, they'll take you wherever you want to go. They'll take you to any restaurant you want to go. They I'm thinking back of one nice guy that I dated too, and it's like, oh, we'd walk through. I remember once walking like past a boutique, and I'd look in the window and say, oh, that's so nice. And then next thing I know, I'd have it, and it's like, okay, this is a little much here. I barely know you.
Okay, but the thing is, what struck me with your conversation is that I forget his name, the author of the book.
Frank.
Excuse me. He was saying that, like, okay, so you need the nice guy that will take the initiation without being aggressive. That's the guy I find hard to find because it's either one way or the other.
It's too bad Frank's married. I'd offer you up to him, but you're right. Where do we find the guys in the middle? How do we?
I find that hard, and I meet a lot of like nice guys, but there has to be like I want somebody that's strong, that knows what he wants, that won't always bow to what I think and has his own thoughts.
Right.
And it's just I find it hard to find somebody like that. I don't know if it's my age group. I don't know.
No, Frank says no. What do you want to tell Raina?
Hi, Raina. It has nothing to do with your age group. This affects men at all age levels, all status levels, all classes. Some guys do not know how to be masculine. They don't know how to be assertive. So what are the questions that I would suggest for women? If you want to find that nice guy who knows how to be assertive, ask him if he's ever read anything from Frank Kermit.
Oh, yeah.
And if he says, yes, I have read stuff from Frank Kermit, you found yourself a keeper.
Or buy him the book.
Or buy him the book. Say, you know what, before we go on our second date, go to this website, franktalks.com, do a little bit of reading, maybe a little, consultation, and then come back and see me. I guess they need to know, the message has to get out there to the men that women don't find this attractive. As nice as you want to be, it is really quite a turnoff.
Exactly. But you have to remember that men of this age have always been told you got to be nice to women, you got to be good to women, you got to be good to women.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, but here's the thing. What women mean when they say you got to be good to women is different from what men understand that you have to be good to women. So as a guy growing up in this generation, I was always told be good to women. That translates for a man, I have to treat her nice and make her happy. Mm-hmm. What it really means is be good to women, don't be violent with women. Treat them like a human being, but at the same time, fulfill your role as a man in the relationship.
Yes.
And that's the message that got lost for an entire world of men right now. Mm-hmm. And that's the structure I had to go through because I was one of those nice guys that didn't get it. Because I was always looking to make a girl happy instead of trying
to... At your expense, though.
At my expense, which was wrong.
And also at the expense of the woman, because often I would be, like, uncomfortable. Like, he would show up with, okay, it's a nice gift, but that would make me uncomfortable.
Right. It was too much. Like, it was démesuré. I don't know what's the word in English.
I would mention it because, like, I was seeing this person, like, since February, and I would mention it, and I know. So finally, like, about a month ago, I said, look, we're still having the same conversation, so obviously nothing's changing.
You better send him to Frank's website, I think. Raina, we do want to give you a prize. Now, you can, actually, there's a choice of things. You can have the book, How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk. I don't think you really need that, but there's a couple of CDs as well, Making Monogamy Work or Alternative Relationship Choices. These are all things that Frank has done, so you take your pick.
Great.
All right. Can you pick one now? Do you know what you want?
Okay, what was my choices? I'm sorry.
Making monogamy work.
Okay.
Alternative relationship choices, and how to seduce her away from a jerk.
The second choice.
All right, alternative relationship choices. Very good. So that's for you, and Mike will take all the information. I'm going to put you on hold, and you'll be able to pick it up at the radio station.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thanks for calling, Raina. Bye-bye. 514-790-0991. We're talking about jerks and why women tend to be more attracted to jerks.
I think there's just one comment I want to make quickly.
Yeah.
So all the guys understand this, and all the women understand why they're not feeling good about this. There's a difference between making someone happy and making the person feel fulfilled. When a guy is only trying to make a woman feel happy, he will fail because he's not making her feel overall fulfilled. And you do that by being yourself in a completely honest way, being assertive without being violent.
Right. And also you're talking about being yourself, being assertive, so not just molding yourself to the other person, I think, because a lot of people try to just kind of wrap themselves around the other person and be exactly what they want them to be, but they kind of miss what they need, really. They're
trying to mirror the other person's mask, and that's a beautiful way to make somebody feel suffocated.
Right. Right in your face.
You don't want to suffocate them. You don't want to mirror their mask. You want to be completely who you are as much as possible and then connect with the person behind the mask.
Right. Well, Frank, I tell you, you certainly did your research in this area. And if people are interested to know a little bit more about this, easy, go to franktalks.com and you'll have access to all of Frank's works on there, including the book, How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk. That's How to Seduce Her Away from a Jerk. There's a CD set as well as a book. And, of course, there's many, many other books for you to look at. And we'll have Frank back on again in November. So thanks again.
Laurie, it's been great as always. I look forward to next time.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I do too. I want to thank Mike Babbins in Master Control. Thank you very much for all your technical mastery. It is mastery that he does. News is coming up next. Then stay tuned for Joey Elias and some comedy.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the program How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. Why do women love jerks? What is it about jerks that addresses a woman's emotional needs? How does a good guy steal a woman away from a jerk? How can he convince her not to go back to the jerk? Why do men always fall for women who are stuck in relationships with jerks? What is the difference between a high-quality woman worth stealing and a low-quality woman that is not worth stealing? What is the single greatest mistake that good guys make when they try to steal a woman away from a jerk? What is the secret seduction technique skill that jerks use to get women hooked on them to begin with? And how can a good guy battle this for the good guy's advantage? This program has all of these answers and more. How to Steal Her Away from a Jerk. On sale now at franktalks.com.